All right, is everybody ready? Is everybody ready?
Amen.
Amen. All right. So we are looking at dealing with anger. It's our fifth lesson on dealing with anger. So we're in our series on seeking wholeness. Seeking wholeness, we're looking at how to be spiritually, mentally, and emotionally healthy. And we've been looking at dealing with anger. This is part 4 on dealing with anger. So I'll start reading James 1:19 to 20. It says, "You know this, my beloved brothers and sisters. Now everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For a man's anger does not bring about the righteousness of God." A man's anger does not bring about the righteousness of God. So we're to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. So we should listen. We should listen more than we talk. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth. And we should be slow to anger. We should, the slightest thing shouldn't make us angry, because anger doesn't bring about righteousness. So anger can lead us to sin. And as Christians, we often read the Bible and we know what God tells us to do. We know what we're supposed to do, but sometimes it's hard to actually do it. It's easier said than done. Sometimes it's easier said than done. It's like, okay, well, how can I be slow to anger? How can I be angry and don't sin? How can I speak the truth in love? What does it even mean to take every thought captive? How can I be led by the Holy Spirit? How do I get rid of bitterness, rage, and envy? It's easier said than done. So that's what we're trying to look at, trying to unravel how to actually live these things out, live these commands out. So today we're looking at anger. We're looking at how to be slow to anger. We're looking at how to be angry and not sin. We're looking at how to speak the truth in love. So we're going to figure out how to walk these things out. Because otherwise, we learn these things, we know what we're supposed to do, but we end up not knowing how to do it, so we fall back to our ways of dealing with people that we dealt with before we were Christians, and our relationships look the same as non-Christians. So we want to walk out how to actually do that. So that's kind of what we're doing in this series, Seeking Wholeness. And I'll go back and review, welcome Annabelle, I'll review our traits of wholeness. So traits of wholeness, we're looking at the study Seeking Wholeness, how to be emotionally, mentally, and spiritually healthy. We're looking at how to deal with the current stresses and how to be healed from experiences from the past wounds and past hurts. We're not supposed to just have eternal life. We're also supposed to have joy, peace, patience, and self-control while we're here on earth. So these are the traits that we've been looking at. You guys probably memorized them by now. There's 30 traits of wholeness. These are the traits that we're striving for. We've touched on a lot of them. We've got a few more that we will touch on, and these are the traits that we'll hopefully develop as we go through this, and then we'll continue working on through the rest of our lives. The first trait, it looks like my connection was lost. The first trait is authenticity. Then there's honesty, kindness, not seeking external approval or validation, so not needing to be validated by other people, living by values and principles, being able to set healthy boundaries, taking ownership of our own responsibilities, living with purpose and passion, optimism, confidence. We want to have healthy relationship with other people, not losing control of our own emotions. We want to be free from addictions. We want to address conflicts with truth and love. We want to be vulnerable. We want to be not critical or judgmental, not jealous. We want to forgive those who've wronged us in the past. We want to know in our hearts that we are worthy of receiving love, that we are lovable, that we do deserve love. We want to actually to know that and believe it in our hearts. We want to be not afraid to fail. We want to be able to manage irrational fear, worry, and anxiety. We want to have selfless encounters with other people. We don't want to manipulate people to try to control their actions or control their reactions. We want to actually care about other people's feelings. We want to have compassion. We want to have empathy for other people. We want to be patient. We want to not give in to peer pressure and social pressure. We want to have the ability to communicate directly with people and not just be passively, aggressively communicating. We want to communicate directly our wants, needs, and desires. We want to not take responsibility for other people's emotions, but we want to take responsibility for our own emotions. We want to be slow to anger. We want to be led by the Holy Spirit. So those are the traits that we're seeking after. Let me add that one. All right. All right. And so now we're going to review the 4 lessons we've had on anger. So we've had 4 lessons on anger. We're going to review them. And let's start. All right. So review. Let's see. Dealing with anger. Dealing with anger. We're going to review. So first we talked about godly anger. Ephesians. Hey, welcome, Pearl. Welcome. Let's see. Who has Ephesians 4:20? Oh, that's me. I have Ephesians 4:26. All right, Ephesians 4:26 says, "Be angry and yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity." So we want to be angry, but we don't want to sin. So you can sin in your responses. So God tells us we can be angry, but don't sin. So God is concerned with how we express our anger, how we respond when we're angry. He's concerned with how long we stay angry. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. And he's respond to how quickly we get angry. So how we express our anger, how long we stay angry, and how quickly we get angry. And not so much the reason why we're angry. You know, in the church we like to talk a lot about righteous anger. But God, there isn't a lot of scripture that talks about righteous anger. It doesn't talk about why you're angry, be it okay if you're angry for this reason. It talks about how to express your anger, how long you're angry, and how quickly you get angry. And then we also learn that, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that? Review. Okay. So we also learn that your anger teaches you about yourself. Your anger can teach. So when we look at anger, we can learn things about ourselves. If we're looking at why we get angry, the things we get angry about, that can teach us about ourselves. So the first thing it does is it reveals our idols. Anger reveals our idols. So next time you get angry, ask yourself, what is it that was violated? What is it that I'm defending? What is it that I love that was threatened? What was an injustice? You know, what was it, an offense to your pride? Was it something that was an offense to your security, that threatened your respect or your status or your reputation maybe, or your intelligence? Or was it something that went against one of your ideologies? So something political or something about your freedom or your race or your gender or your stance on abortion or food? Was it an ideology that was threatened? Or was it God? So if we look at what we get angry about, that shows us what we feel is important. If someone challenges what idea or what thing does it make us angry, that will let you know what may be an idol in your life. You know, if you get more angry about this thing than you get angry about an offense to God, you know, that will tell you something. That will tell you something. You know, a lot of times our happiness may be built around our job or our spouse or our love or relationship or how much money we're making or how good the kids are doing. And if our ultimate happiness is based on that, then anything that threatens that is going to make us angry. So if we see what gets angry, that can tell us what it is that we value. If we see what makes us angry, that lets us learn what can value. So the first thing that anger teaches us is what we value, what's important, what might be an idol in my life, what might be taking the place of God in my life. The second thing anger tells us is it lets you identify your emotions, because anger is a secondary emotion, meaning that when you get angry, there is usually some other emotion that triggered the anger. So we use the example of if you're stopped at a light and you're looking at your phone, then all of a sudden the car behind you starts honking because the light turned green and you didn't realize it. You know, are you angry at the honking, or but what was your first emotion? Did you feel guilty because you weren't paying attention and then you got angry? Or did you feel embarrassed because there was attention drawn to you and then you got angry? Or did you feel disrespected because this person had the audacity to honk at you when you were going to go? You were going to go. You didn't need him to tell you. You felt disrespected and then you get angry. So if we look at, okay, what is it, the emotion that triggers our anger, that can teach you something about yourself. What emotion triggers your anger? And then third, anger can tell you about your insecurities. You know, are there sensitive things that if someone talks about or someone mentioned, it makes you angry? If someone says something about your race, your age, your gender, your education level, your body type, if someone mentions that, then you get angry. So it can show you an area that you're insecure in. So your anger can show you your insecurities. And then lastly, the thing your anger can tell you is a new one. Your anger can reveal your potential for evil. Your anger can reveal your potential for evil. So what does that mean? So in our unconscious mind, we have repressed ideas, weaknesses, desires, instincts, and shortcomings. But we have religious beliefs, cultural norms, things in society that tell us they're not okay. So we try to repress those thoughts or repress those actions. You know, we try to only bring forward what's acceptable by society, what's acceptable by God, or what's acceptable by our own morals. You know, we have our own morals and values, and you know, we may have thoughts that don't fit in with that. But when we're angry, sometimes we'll have thoughts that don't line up with our morals. So like, for instance, if you're late for work, and you're driving on the road and you're trying to get to the freeway, then all of a sudden there's a bicyclist in the middle of the lane. Shouldn't be in the middle of the lane. You know, they're going 15 miles an hour. They're making you late. You know, they should be on the side, but they're just driving in the middle, just a bicyclist. And you say, okay, let me give them a minute, and then you realize they're not going to get over. They're just going to just ride where the cars are supposed to be riding, and now you're late. And then they see you, they turn around, and they give you that finger. They give you that finger and just keep in your way. Now, we may have some thoughts that run through your mind. You may say, oh, let me honk at him, maybe, or you may think, oh man, I could just hit that guy. Doesn't he realize I could just hit him? Yeah. And so when you're angry, you'll have thoughts. You won't act on these thoughts. You may not. Well, most people won't act on these thoughts. You may not act on these thoughts, but you'll have thoughts that run through your mind when you get angry. Oh, I could hurt this person. Oh, I should do this. So you'll have thoughts that run through your mind when you're angry, and you may dismiss them quickly because, you know, this isn't, you know, you say, oh, that's not me. That's not something. So it's, you don't actually entertain the thought, but it's just a thought that comes in your mind. And so so that's something we might want to look at, is what are these thoughts that we have? What are these thoughts that run through our mind when we're angry? If we take note of that, that can teach us something about ourselves. If we take note of that, when I get angry, take note of the actual thoughts that come into your mind. The actual thoughts that come into your mind next time you get angry. You know, when you have these impulsive thoughts, take note of what type of thoughts that come into your mind. Even if you quickly dismiss it and say, oh, that's just foolish or that's just wrong. Take note of the thoughts that actually come into your head, so it can reveal your potential for evil. So those are the 4 things anger can reveal. So any thoughts? Any thoughts so far? Good. All right. All right. So let's see. I'll continue with the review. Last lesson, we talked about 3 categories, 3 ways that we express anger, 3 categories that we can express anger. One is by exploding or spewing. One is by stuffing or repressing. One is by indirect or passive aggressive anger. So exploding anger is when you get mad and you yell, you scream, you may hit people, you intimidate people, acts of aggression. You know, people express this maybe overly opinionated or overly bold, maybe forceful and maybe demanding. And generally their view on anger is that anger is necessary. So if you explode, if you're an explosive anger expresser, your view on anger is that anger is necessary. Anger is normal. You know, conflict is normal. It's a normal part of life. Anger is a normal part of life, and it's necessary. The second type of people are stuffers. They stuff their anger. They repress it. They ignore it. They'll deny it. They'll minimize it. They pretend they're not really angry. What's wrong? Oh, nothing. Nothing's wrong. Nothing. You know, they avoid anger. Or they may feel shame. They may feel shame when they get angry. Or maybe, they don't get angry immediately and they have to process it and get angry later. And so these type of people, stuffers, they think anger is bad or sinful. And they think that conflict is bad and conflict should be avoided. So they think anger is bad and conflict should be avoided. And then the third type of category of anger expression is the indirect or the passive aggressive type of anger. So these people, when they get angry, they may give you the silent treatment, or they'll avoid people or places, or they may withdraw. They won't follow through on commitments they've made or promises that they made, or they'll make excuses. They'll knowingly go at a slower pace and knowing that it'll annoy somebody, or they become critical or negative, or they may withhold affection because they're mad. They're going to withhold affection. So these people's view of anger is that showing anger is bad. So it's okay to be angry, but you can't show it. You can't show it. We talked about how the fact that you may be an exploder at home, but you may be a stuffer at work. Because you don't want to show. So you may have one trait at one place, but you have one that is your primary when you're comfortable. And usually it's the one that you're with, the people you're most comfortable with is usually your primary expression. And the solution for these was found in, well, actually, any thoughts or comments on those? Okay, so who had Ephesians 4:15, which gives us the solution to all three? So all three of those are anger management issues. Ephesians, was that which one did you have, Chris?
I have Proverbs 14:29.
Oh, okay. Oh, was it Peter? No.
I have Ephesians 6.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll read Ephesians 4:15. Oh, I had it. Oh, that was me. Okay, I didn't start. That was me. All right. Ephesians 4:15.
Work, you may be. Oops, sorry about that. I'm reading something else.
Okay.
Be quiet.
Oh, I got it. Ephesians 4:15. Instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. So the solution is to speak the truth in love. So we want to speak the truth in love. So when we're angry, we want to speak the truth. So we don't necessarily want to just not say anything and stuff it, but we want to speak it in love. So we want to have compassion for the other person. So we don't want to necessarily yell and scream at the other person. We want to speak it out of love. So we're not going to ignore it, and we're not going to not address it. We're going to address the issue, but we're not going to do it in a hateful manner. We're going to do it in love, and we want to go after the issue and not go after the person. So we're not trying to go after the person or hurt the person. We're trying to resolve the issue. But then also we want to tell the truth. So we don't want to just, say a white lie to try to avoid conflict or try to ignore something that's irritating you. And so we want to actually address it. We want to address the issue. And so, yeah, so I need to do that more. So we want to actually address the issue. And then when you do that, so if we can do that, it says, 4:15 says, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. So if we can learn to speak the truth in love, then our relationships can actually be mature. We can interact with people in a mature manner. Our emotional level will be at a mature level if we're able to speak the truth in love. So that's emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is being able to speak the truth directly but lovingly, and so that's emotional maturity. So that's what we want to grow to, being able to speak the truth in love. And so we don't ignore the things that are bothering us, but we don't go into like a trance state where, we can't hear the other person's opinion and we just know we're right and we won't listen to anything. We want to speak it in love. And so when you do that, because the stuffers and the passive aggressive, they may have, since they don't bring up the issue in their mind, they're always right. This person is wrong, for what they did, but the other person never gets a chance to give their side of the story. So this way you can't just assume you're right, and issues don't just go unresolved. So speaking the truth in love, that's the emotional, mature way to resolve conflict. That's the emotional, mature way to resolve conflict. So that may look like saying, I'm irritated about this, and I need to think it through whether it's you have a problem or I have a problem. So, but it's saying something. Maybe you don't know right then, or maybe you can't. Maybe you're not in a state to speak about it right then. You're too angry, but it's addressing it. And so that's tough for a lot of people. For me, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah. All right. So any thoughts on that? All right. No thoughts, okay. And then we went to the causes of anger. Causes of anger, lastly. We looked at the causes of anger. So one reason we're angry is because of emotional hurt. We're angry because of emotional hurt. So hurt because you have an unmet need. You have an unmet need. You didn't get the attention you thought you deserved, the recognition, the apology you deserve, the respect you deserve, the reward you deserve, or the appreciation you deserve. So you had an emotional hurt. It was an unmet need, something you felt you should have gotten that you didn't get. And so that we'll get angry because of that. I should have got, they didn't recognize me for what I did. So that'll make us angry, an unmet need. Then the other thing that'll make us angry is an unmet expectation. So when you have an unmet expectation, if it's a small, then it's a frustration. If it's big, it's anger. Or you could have something that you desire versus demanding it. If you desired it, then you get disappointed. If you're demanding it, you get angry. And here's a video on that.
Hello. Oftentimes when we get angry, it's because we have unmet expectations or we have unmet needs. If we have an expectation and it doesn't match reality, if the distance between the expectation and reality is small, we get frustrated. If that distance is large, we get angry. If we have a desire that's not met, we get disappointed. If we have a demand that's not met, we get angry. So ask yourself, are you desiring things from other people or are you demanding them? What about from yourself? What about from life? What about from God?
All right. So are you demanding or desiring? All right, and that's the review. That's the review of the last 4 lessons. Quick review. Any thoughts? Anything stood out for you in the last 4 lessons? Anything reminded you? Anything helped you? Anything surprised you? Good. All right. Pearl, good. Anybody else? No? No thoughts? All right. Going once. Going twice. All right. All right. So we'll get into this week's lesson. This week we're going to be talking primarily about why we get angry. So some of the reasons why we get angry. So we just looked at 2 causes, but we'll look at more reasons and some situations that are states that we can be in that make us more prone to be angry than at other times. Who has Proverbs 14:29?
I got that one.
Okay.
Yeah. A patient man has great understanding, but a quick-tempered man displays folly.
All right. A patient man has great understanding. So if you're patient, then you have great understanding, or some translations say slow to anger. So if you're slow to anger, I guess patience can equate to being slow to anger. If you're impatient, you're going to get angry from waiting. But yeah, so being slow to anger, being patient, it says you have great understanding. But a quick-tempered person exalts folly or foolishness. So if you're angry, so we talked about how when you're angry, you know, your thinking turns to black and white. You're not considering you're not considering the perspective of other people. You're not considering the consequences. So basically, your thinking capacity reduces when you're angry. And so the Bible often talks about associates being anger with being foolish. All right, who has Psalms 103:8?
I have that.
All right, keep quiet.
The Lord is compassionate and merciful, slow to get angry, and filled with unfailing love.
All right, so the Lord is compassionate and merciful. He's slow to get angry and filled with abounding love, mercy. So God is described as slow to anger. So God is not described as never getting angry. God is described as slow to anger. And so that's what we want to be like God, and he instructs us to be slow to anger. So our goal is to be slow to anger, not get angry quickly. So today we're going to look at ways to do that. It's easy to say be slow to anger, but it's like, well, how do I do that? So today we're going to look at how do we do that. And so the first reason we're going to do that is we're going to look at what are some situations, whether there's some things that make me vulnerable to getting angry. What are some things that may make me quick to anger? What are some things that may be in the way from me getting slow to anger? So what are some things that may make some people quick to anger? What do you guys have any thoughts on what might make someone get angry quickly? What are some things that might make them get angry quickly?
Not paying my money back.
Yeah, when somebody doesn't pay your money back. Yeah. Someone trying to take advantage of you, doesn't pay your money back, or doesn't give you what they owe you. Yeah. Patrice? Oh. Your hand went down? Okay. What else? What might make someone get angry quickly?
Somebody,
Okay, Michael, sorry, I had to unmute. Yeah, getting cut off in traffic, or maybe even betrayal.
Betrayal. Yeah.
Betrayal.
Yeah, betrayal. Yeah, getting off of traffic. Yeah, traffic. For some reason, in traffic, people get angry. People that aren't normally angry get angry in traffic. For some reason, I don't fully know why, but yeah, being on the road, people get a short temper. People get a short temper. What were you saying, Eric?
Rude.
Somebody being rude to you. Yeah,
Rude
somebody
toward you.
being rude to you. Yeah,
Yes.
so someone else's personality or the way they address you can make you angry. Yeah. Or if you had a rough life, maybe it can make you angry.
Yeah. That
So
too.
yeah, so we're gonna look at some things that could be going on that make you more likely to be angry. Some things that could be going on. So the first one we're gonna look at is that we talked about it, but we'll talk about it again. Is that it could be your family. Your family. Who has Ephesians 6:4?
I do, Michael.
Okay.
It says, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. Instead, bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord.
Amen.
All right. Do not provoke your children to wrath. So teaching you how to raise them. Don't provoke them to wrath, but discipline them, but don't provoke them to wrath. And so so how your family, the family that you grew up in, can impact how quickly you are to angry, how quickly you are to get angry, because your family you grew up in basically is your first view of how do I deal with conflict, how do I resolve conflict. So if any time there's a slightest issue in your family, everybody yelled and screamed and cursed, then you're going to grow up thinking, then that's how you deal with conflict, yell and scream and curse. And then, like Kikwa mentioned, unless you at some point say, that's not right, that's dysfunctional, and you can decide, hey, I want to do it differently. But in general, people, what you see expressed in your family is going to be how you learn to deal with conflict. So a lot of people that are angry, they grew up in an angry household. They grew up around yelling and screaming, and that was how you deal with things. And so that's one way that you can be in a situation where you're not slow to anger. It could be because of the family you grew up in. And so, let's see. Have 10 questions just to consider about the family you grew up in. First question is, how was anger expressed in your family when you were growing up? How was anger expressed in your family when you were growing up? And number 2, just more detail. How did your father express anger? Number 3, how did your mother express anger? What feelings, thoughts, and behaviors carry on into your relationships today? So what feelings, thoughts, and behaviors that you saw growing up do you still have in your relationships today? As if like it was normal to yell and argue then, it's normal to yell and argue in your relationship today. What purpose do these behaviors serve today? How were happiness and sadness expressed in your family? What message did you receive about your father or men in general? What message did you receive about your mother or women in general? Were emotional expressions limited to feelings of anger and frustration, or were many different emotions expressed? So did you see a lot of range of emotions expressed in your family, or was it pretty much just anger? And then what role did you play in your family? Were you the hero? Were you the rescuer? Were you the victim? Were you the wallflower? Were you the scapegoat? What role did you play in your family? So those are some things to think about just in considering how you are now in dealing with anger. What role did you play in your family? And let's see, so I talked about a quote last time that said, talking about family, it said, peace looks like boredom to people who grew up in chaos. It said, peace looks like boredom to people who grew up in chaos. But then it was pointed out that, that's not always the case, so you can make a conscious decision to change. And so I heard another quote in between then and now that may speak to that. It's pretty deep. Some people can relate to it, some people may not understand it at all. But it says, the person you are right now is a person you would have felt safe with as a child. The person you are right now, the person you have become, is a person you would have felt safe with as a child. All right, so that's family. So your family can impact how slow you are to anger, the environment you were raised in. Any thoughts on family?
Sounds like a sickness, Michael.
Family sounds like a sickness.
It could be for some.
Oh wait, so go ahead, explain that.
It could be.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it, chaos is the way to go. People blow up on the freeway for reasons that's unreasonable without thinking the cause.
Right.
You could cut someone off at Costco or Safeway with a shopping cart. I did that one time. I didn't know there was a line because of COVID behind, it was like a big gap. So I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's a lot of space. So I just went right behind that person. And I didn't know that behind me, 20 feet behind me, next to all the food, there were like 10 people there. And wow, they were about to throw their peanut butter jars at me and everything, And I'm going, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I didn't know that. So I went all the way in the back, and nobody was happy, even though I corrected that error,
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, people just kind of very explosive in general, even now, they're reactionary.
Yeah, I have a question about that, actually. Sorry to cut you off. It's Peter, right?
Yeah.
So did you take that personally? Like, did you feel that anger was directed towards you, or not?
No, actually, I didn't feel anything. I just went like, oops, my shoulders shrugging. I really did. I felt bad because I didn't know there were 15 people behind, waiting, with a 6 feet gap, between the food and the cashier. And so, I just felt like, oops. So I went back, but those people took it serious, Yeah, so that was just incidents, but there were times on 237, I'm driving, and these people, they looked like they were racing to go to hell, They were tailgating and flashing their lights at me. I'm going, I caught their license plate, thank God for cell phones. And I'm going, what kind of sickness do you have, Do you need to get to the hospital quick, Yeah, I wasn't really angry, but I was like, you are really unsafe on the freeway. If I would have slammed on the brakes, you would have caved your car right in the back of mine. I would have hit someone else. Just people just flare up easily, very, very easily. Not even an exchange of more than 3 words or 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Right away, there was it's like a sickness. It really is.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, sorry, Peter. I was just gonna say that you didn't take it personally. It sounds like you're just like, okay, they're just angry, and I probably personally. So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Wait, say it again.
Wait, can you repeat that?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. So I said, it's interesting that Peter didn't take the people's anger personally. I said I probably would have, and I don't know if I would do so today, maybe so. But it's interesting how people react differently towards the things, and I'm like, oh, it makes me want to think a little bit more why I do that, but it probably has to do with the way I was brought up, and maybe my personality.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not a mellow person. I'm type A actually, but it just so happened that I didn't see that as a threat. But the other situations where I saw it as I would actually flare up, and it would be very hard for me to catch it. So I really have to sincerely pray like there's no tomorrow in the morning before I take my before I exit, because I wouldn't know how to deal with certain situations, you know. So yeah, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, it could be your family. So we're going to look at a lot of different reasons today why. You asked why people can be like this. So family is one reason. There are a lot of other reasons that people can be quick to get angry, and so that's what we're going to be looking at today. But family is a big one. It's the first big one, but there are a lot of other reasons as well. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Peter and Patrice, for that. So the second reason is that you can have an inaccurate schema. You can have an inaccurate schema. So inaccurate schema meaning that your brain, you're expecting, so in this situation, you're expecting something. You're expecting certain things to happen. You're expecting certain things but that's not necessarily the case. You know, and you're not basing your experience on what's actually happening. You're basing your experience on what you're expecting to happen. So you have a schema, you have a certain expectation based on a situation, based on a person's tone of voice, based on, the environment you're in. So maybe someone who acts a certain way. Someone acts a certain way, and so you may make some assumptions by it, or someone talks to you in a certain way, and so now you have a schema about them, and so you assume something about them based on the schema. And so I guess an example of that, I remember I went to a .com when I started to work at a .com, and they told me, hey, our dress code is we wear khakis and a polo shirt. That's the dress code. And I was like, okay. So I came to work the first day in my khakis and a polo. And the guy sitting across from me was this 19-year-old kid with his bare feet sitting up on the desk, holes in his jeans, not like stylish holes, like holes in his t-shirt, and just typing on the keyboard. And I looked at him and I said, all right. I said, this has got to be one of two things. Either that's the boss's son, or two, that guy is an incredible programmer. So I was like, just based on looking at him, I put a schema in my head. He's one of these two things. He's either the boss's son or he's an incredible programmer. So sometimes we'll build these schema up and we'll respond to the situation or to the person based on the schema we made, but it's not actually based on the actual interaction. So it turns out he was an incredible programmer. So the schema was correct. But we can base our schema based on, maybe we were abandoned in the past. Maybe we were a victim of some type of crime. And so we're reacting to, feeling unsafe from what happened in the past, but not necessarily what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. So for an example, you may send a text to someone and they don't respond. And now you have a schema in your head, okay, unresponding to text, what does that mean? That means they rejected me. That means they don't like me. Or you may say, they didn't return my text. That means they're disrespecting me. Or you may say, they didn't return my text. That means they're out there cheating on me. It's because you have this schema, but it's, none of that is there, but it's just you're adding that meaning into it. So we add meaning into the situation based on the schema that we have. So that can be what we can add meaning to the situation based on the schema that we have. And I guess a quick side note, I'll keep forgetting to mention, if I don't respond to your text or email on the day of the class, then don't take it personally. I'm running around day of class. I'm probably not going to respond to text, email. But yeah. So anyway, so any thoughts on schema? Any experiences with schema? Anytime you thought something was going to be one way and it wasn't because you had a schema in your head? Or any thoughts on schema in general?
How accurate is it as far as percentage, what a person perceives versus the action, the consequences as a result?
Well, it depends on the person. See, that's the thing. It's some people, because that depends on the person. So some people's schemas may be off and they don't know it. And that's when they're more angry. So that's when that person is angrier because they're maybe reading more into it. But you won't know that your schema is off. You may not know that your schema is off. So that's part of also this is kind of to bring awareness to it. You won't know that your schema is off. So you especially like if you're an exploder, it's hard to change your mind. Reality may not even change your mind. Especially if it's something like during the pandemic. We definitely saw that during the pandemic. It's like people were on edge, and people had this schema. This politician is a horrible person, and so no matter what they do, you're gonna assume that it was bad. This person is horrible, so no matter what they did, it was bad. Or either I love this politician, so whatever, no matter what they did or whatever, anything stupid they could say, you think it's good. So we saw that, we have a schema. You have a schema of a person. So we saw that a lot during the pandemic. People, they're sticking to this, and I'm gonna, so they stuck to their schema, or either their schema was wrong. So yeah, so it depends on the person to person. Welcome, Lorraine.
So Michael, I was gonna say mine is as an example, was a bit work related.
Okay.
I thought, I thought if I went, and this was in my, younger times, it's a bit more mature, but I would go into a company thinking when I started that if I go above and beyond, right, I'll get a raise or I'll get a promotion, and so I would do extra things that were not asked of me, but thinking that I'm doing more than once. This is what I'm expecting. So those expectations definitely said, I put myself into my own disappointment, but I would blame the company for that, right? Because they tell you, hey, you get 10%, you get your whole, you meet all your quarterly goals. When it comes to the end of the year, you could qualify for, 10% raise, and when I didn't get that, right? That's when I fell into disappointment and would be angry. I'm like, I quit. This is like a setup,
Yeah.
But it was me with my expectations, right? And my schema was off, thinking that I felt like, I went above and beyond, even though they didn't ask me to do those things or promise those things to me. I pretty much set myself up for disappointment and blamed them. But it took me a lot of hard lessons to really see that it was me and not them, but that anger still stuck with me, and I would hold resentments, and and then I'm looking for another outlet, I'm trying to get out, right? But just wanted to say that's where I saw my schema was off,
Yeah.
and really where that anger came from was just me just letting my expectations get the best of me is the best way.
Yeah, that's a good example. That's a good example in the workplace because I had a similar. I thought, I'm working hard. I'm working on this project. Had to drive to San Francisco every day, meeting with a team of people in a conference room all day, in one conference room, all day, literally with these same people for months. We're working, so it's like, no personal calls, but you're in the conference room working all day from early, sometimes I would get home at 10 at night. We're working on this project, people were flying in from everywhere, we're working, and we worked really hard, and I mentioned before, I was trying to get promoted to the next level, and then I think we'd been maybe a year, driving up to San Francisco every morning. That's an hour and a half commute, driving back every day. And I remember the VP of my group came from Texas out here, and he wanted to meet with me personally. So I was like, okay, finally, I'm going to get the recognition I deserve. And he said, well, I'm sorry to inform you, but your position has been eliminated. I was like, wait a minute. That wasn't the schema I had about. That wasn't how this thing works. I thought you work hard and, everybody telling you you're doing a good job, but that's, the schema, was off. And we get same with life. We think, okay, if I work hard, if I get a good education and get a good grad, then life is going to be great. Then I'm going to be happy. And then when that doesn't happen, Now we're upset at life. We're upset at God, because we have a schema in our head of how things are supposed to work out. But yeah, that's one reason we can be angry. So maybe we have an inaccurate schema. You realize in work, firing means you didn't do what you're supposed to do. When there's a layoff, that means somebody above you didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's like there's other factors involved. There's other factors involved. And
well, in our world, also to add to that, Michael, is when they say they're cutting costs, right?
yeah,
The company isn't doing financially well. That means they're cutting people.
right, yeah. But they're cutting costs because somebody else. That means somebody messed up. Somebody who either decided on the product or decided what industry to be in. Somebody, if the company's not doing well, somebody higher up made a mistake. But yeah, the layoff. We're laying off everybody in California or everybody at this level. It's like. But yeah. But yeah, so you had an inaccurate schema, but it also can go down to the individual level. What you thought about this person, you assume that this person would do this and that. But so you're operating with the wrong assumptions, basically. You're operating under the wrong. So that's why it can lead you to be angry. So the more off your assumptions are, the more angry you will be. Okay. Let's see. The next reason people can anger quickly is because of emotional triggers. Some people may have emotional triggers. They can be sensitive. So they may have gone through something in the past, maybe through some trauma, and so they have a long-standing issue. There's something in the past happened to them, something hurt, and so now this area is sensitive to them. Now that that they're sensitive in this area, so they can get mad. It's easy to get mad in that. And if you had some type of abuse in the past, if you have something that you went through that you weren't healed from, some type of relationship you went through, so things are now in that area, you can get mad if things happen in that area. And so you can be triggered by things. And so certain things can trigger you. It can be a loss of control can trigger you. Rejection can trigger you. Death can trigger you. Fear, jealousy, loss of something you care about, failure, disrespect, or embarrassment. Any of those things can trigger that emotion that you still have. You have an emotional trigger from something that you weren't healed from in the past. It could even be a smell or a sight that can trigger that emotion. I remember, it's not quite the same, but there was a movie, I think I mentioned before, Italian Job, where there was one scene when they were going to go rob this house, and there was a dog, and the guy was like, "Oh, yeah, I don't do dogs." He said, "What do you mean you don't do dogs? We got to go." He said, "Oh, yeah, I don't do dogs." "Why not?" "I had a bad experience with a dog." I said, "Really? What happened?" "I had a bad experience."
Yeah.
So it was a trigger. So something hurt you in the past, and now anything in that area can lead you to get angry. You're more sensitive to getting angry at something in that area, something about relationships, something about someone leaving you, something about if it was a sexual thing, something about any issue. You could be sensitive in that area, and it could lead you to get angry.
Michael, how do you deal with that kind of person then?
How do you deal with that person? I think it depends on well, I mean, I guess for one, you won't necessarily know that is the reason. I mean, if you know, I guess it's a different thing. So if you know, then you want to try to deal with them with some compassion. Although that's going to be tough because, their interactions with you may be, not loving. So they may not treat you in a loving way, but you're a welcome praise. Oh, wow. It's good to see you back. So they may not treat you in a loving way, but then you want to, but you want to preferably you'd want to treat them with compassion and understanding that okay, they were hurt in this area, and so it's not kind of like Patrice said, so you wouldn't take it personal. So if you know, if you don't know, so if someone is blowing up from something that's small, then it's probably a trigger for something else that happened. So it's probably not, if you go to someone and say, hey, I like those shoes, and they're like, oh, what do you mean shoes? What are you looking at my shoes for? And they go off, it's probably not you. It's something with them. So it's something. So don't take it personally, I guess, is how you can deal with them. Don't take it personally.
Wouldn't it be what your example would be with like speaking your truth with love, right?
Yeah. Speaking truth with love, yeah. So you can tell them. I mean, I guess it also depends on. I guess you want to temper the speaking of truth with love with the relationship. So if it's somebody that cuts in front of you at line at the supermarket, you may handle it differently than say if it's a coworker or a family member. So if it's a family member, then you definitely want to maintain that relationship. So you want to address the issue or something. If it's somebody that you're not going to ever see again, then it may not be worth your time to address the issue. So you don't necessarily need to speak the truth. If you're never going to see the person again and it's going to cause you more drama to interact with them, then you may want to just let it go. But if it's a relationship that you value, then yeah, you want to speak the truth with love. Okay. And so if you see yourself, so in these emotional triggering areas, you can ask yourself, why do these sensitive areas make me feel threatened? Or what's triggering my anger? Ask yourself, what memory or reaction is this related to? And ask yourself, is there a real threat in this scenario? Is there really a threat? I'm getting angry at this person. Is there really something that's a threat to me now? It's like, okay, I'm going to get to the checkout stand a minute and a half later. Is it really worth me exploding? Is there a real threat in this situation? And then I guess also what you can do is, look at use that as an opportunity, as we mentioned, to learn about yourself. What is it that made you angry? Was it a threat to your pride? Did you feel disrespected? Did you feel, what did it trigger in you that made you angry? All right. Any other thoughts on emotional triggers?
I can tell you about one of my triggers.
Okay.
Because of the field I used to be in, I guess people aren't used to women knowing that predominantly in the past only men knew.
Yeah.
And I think my issue is when people question my intelligence and then they start to quote unquote mansplain. Completely like, you don't know, this is none of your business. You don't know what us men are talking about. So you just go do your girl things. So I know that's one of my triggers, but
yeah, it's a trigger because when people have a schema that says women can't do this or women can't do that, and they're operating off of that invalid schema. Yeah, and that can be that can definitely be triggering. That can be triggering if someone is unfairly labeling you or and then and then you want to figure out what is it that is it, do you feel disrespected? Do you feel ignored? Do you feel so that's
like my intelligence is being questioned.
Exactly. Yeah.
Could I say something? Hey, Lorraine.
Yeah.
I had to deal with that this morning with first graders. So,
First graders?
But, because I sub. So, I get that. I hear what you're saying, Lorraine, because I get that a lot. And I think I get a lot of judgment for being, that little petite female of color and stuff. And so, yeah, I had to kind of let them know this morning that, I can handle it. I can handle it. They're always sort of like, our teacher, you're not doing it like our teacher, because I sub, right? And I think the one thing I could have done differently, because I think it is an education opportunity for them as well as for adults, I just needed to be a little bit more loving about it, because I was in the middle of teaching something and they kept on interrupting. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to let you know right now. This is how it goes. And I could have been a little bit more soft about it, but there was a lot of stuff going on. And I had 10 of them talking to me at one time. So I get it, Lorraine. Good example.
Yeah, that's a good example. It's a good example.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, okay. And well, I guess with that, one thing you could do is try. I mean, it's hard not to take it personal when it's like, well, they're prejudiced against something that I am. It's not. So it's kind of hard not to take it personal. But it is. But yeah, I know. Like a few weeks ago, I came. Did I mention it? I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but I was coming back from the airport. I hopped out of Uber at night, walking to my place, and so I had my mask on. So it's nighttime, so I jumped out of Uber, walking down the sidewalk with my mask, and I see a lady walking towards me, and she sees me with a mask on, and her eyes get big, and she turns around and walks the other way, walking through the neighborhood. So she was like, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's because I got a mask on. I was like, all right. But yeah, it's hard. Yeah, but it's hard not to take it personally because we're gonna assume that especially if we've had it happen so often, then we want to make sure that we don't want unfairly place it. We want to also always consider, could there be another reason that is happening? But yeah.
That's why you didn't start chasing her.
Oh, what would I have done if I caught her? I didn't.
That's the answer right
Probably
there.
been here today. We would have been putting money on his book.
Yeah, but it's hard not to take it personal when it's a prejudice against something you are.
That's the one that can get angry right there.
That can cause emotional triggers.
Yeah,
emotional triggers.
Many.
I was.
Hey, Michael.
Oh, I know.
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
was going to say, what do you recommend? Like not saying anything, or is it okay to say something as long as you are, saying it lovingly? Because to me, a lot of times I think it's like an educational opportunity for everybody.
I think, it's okay. I mean, especially if it's going to be a continued relationship, like it's a coworker or something. If it's something, I think maybe if it's one time, maybe or maybe not, but if there's a pattern, if you notice a pattern of it, then you may want to, why, bring it, not in a confrontational way. Yeah, you want to bring it up. Yeah, you want to bring it up. Why would you assume that I didn't or what? Yeah, you want to bring it up, but try to bring it up in a non-confrontational way. But directly to the person. Yeah, but if it happens once, then maybe you can let it go. But if it's a continual thing that's causing you distress and you're ruminating on it at home, fuming at night. But but then also realizing that it may be, based on an emotional trigger or an insecurity that we were so take that into consideration. But you can address it. Yeah, definitely address it. And that leads us to the next thing is it may be an insecurity, which we kind of mentioned, but it may be something, you may get angry because something was an attack on your self-worth. So it may be something that you're sensitive about, that you're insecure about. You may feel attacked emotionally, physically, or psychologically, but it may be based on something you're insecure about. So maybe, you may take something as a negative or something that somebody else wouldn't have because you're sensitive about that area. So you might want to consider that in some areas. Is are you overly sensitive about that? And so is that an insecurity that you have? So maybe, like, for example, someone mention a physical feature, or someone mispronounces your name, or someone asks you where you're from. It's not, everybody wouldn't take that offensively. Everybody wouldn't take that offensively. So it may be that you have an insecurity in that area. Or it could be from past experiences. Somebody who said that meant something harmful or bad, but it may not. Is there a potential that it wasn't said harmfully? So you also want to keep in mind that an insecurity can make you anger quickly. Insecurity can make you anger quickly. Other things that can make us anger quickly are just the physical things. Has anybody ever been hangry? Has anybody ever been hangry?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you may get anger quickly just because you haven't eaten. Hangry, you're hungry. You're angry because you're hungry. You're angry because you're hungry. So there's hangry. So there's physical stimulus. Maybe you have low blood sugar, or you've been drinking alcohol, you had too much caffeine, or you're in pain. Maybe you're in pain. So not just emotional pain. So emotional pain can make you angry easily, but physical pain, or you have an illness, or you haven't slept. You haven't slept that night, or it could be your hormones. It could be something with your hormones. And so any of these could make you get angrier, can make you get angry quickly. So we want to be aware of that. You want to be aware of that. If you haven't eaten all day, and somebody does something, you're angry. You want to keep in mind. Maybe I'm angry. Would I be angry if I wasn't so hungry? Would that comment have really made me angry if I wasn't so hungry? Would that comment would have made me angry if I wasn't on my 13th cup of coffee? So it could be your physical stimulus. Could be some physical stimulus. You haven't slept. You've only been getting 2 hours of sleep. I heard somebody talk about. So there's the verse that says, don't go to sleep on your anger. And he said, and there was a pastor. He was saying, he said, but if you're angry because you haven't slept, then by all means go to sleep. You talk about it the next day. But so there could be some physical things going on that make you prone to anger.
Hey,
Oh, go ahead.
the next verse to that is, don't let the sun down when you're angry. The next verse is something about devil. The devil prowls around.
Don't give the devil a foothold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is sidetrack a little bit, but I thought this is it's a piece of nugget. I'm quoting from Charles Stanley. I thought this might benefit all the brothers, sisters here. So interrupt for just 30 seconds. He said, Charles Stanley said, HALT, HALT. HALT. Those moments is when you make a lot of very vulnerable, and the devil can get us easily. H stands for hungry. A stands for angry. L stands for lonely. T stands for tired. HALT.
Yes.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Don't make decisions when you're in HALT.
Right, exactly. Yeah, good point. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. HALT. Don't make decisions when you're in HALT, or you can make it shout, stressed. Stress, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Yeah, don't make decisions when you're... So all of those can make you more prone to angry. If you're stressed, you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, you're tired, it could be more prone to be angry. So that can make you not slow to anger. And there's another phenomena which I guess a lot of people experience, that some people misinterpret their physiology as emotion. So, when you're angry, your heart beats, some people face flush, your muscles get tense. Your blood pressure gets raised or lowered depending on the person. So some people, if their heart's beating, if their face gets flushed, if their muscles get tense, then they'll assume, okay, I must be angry. And then they'll try to find something going on in the environment to blame it on. So it's like they have they have physiology, they have symptoms going on, not symptoms, but they have things happening in their body. And so they associate an emotion to the thing that's going on. And so you attach a story to it. And so you find something to blame. And so that could be a reason you're prone to get angry as well. Something's going on in your body. And so you notice that, and so you throw the blame on someone else. I must be angry at this person because they did this. When it wasn't even anger. It was just those anger type symptoms going on in your body. So it could be another reason why you're not slow to anger. And a person gave an example of that is they used to, they said on some days they would all of a sudden their hearts would start racing, and they would get irritable, and so then they would assume that somebody around them had done something, and it was irritable. So they would assume that someone had done something, but then by observing the pattern, they realized that every time that happened, 4 to 6 hours later, it would start raining. So their body actually was reacting to an atmospheric change. They got more adrenaline in their body, and it was reacting to the weather. But they were assuming that meant they were angry at somebody, and so they would find something to blame. So you could be angry because your body is having physical changes that you associate with anger. So that's another reason you could be not slow to anger. Patrice.
Hey, Michael. So I'm listening to what you're saying, and I know like we need to take responsibility for the way that we interpret things and react to things, and I totally get all that. But I also feel like, I spent many years, like I have an A-type personality, and I had a pretty hard upbringing. And I grew up like my personality is pretty perfectionist and stuff like that. So I was really, really hard on myself. I'm still hard on myself today. And, but I understand myself more. And I really try hard to be by the book. And I'm not really that good with people like yelling at me or reprimanding me. And it most likely has to do with my upbringing and just seeing a lot of turmoil and stuff. So I try really hard to like do things right the first time so I don't get quote unquote yelled at or I don't get reprimanded, because again, I don't do well with that because of stuff in my past. And what I noticed though was that as much as I worked, like it's almost like the harder I worked at it, the more would happen. And I'm like, what's going on? Like I'm making this conscious attempt to make sure that I do everything like, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, so that I don't have to hear anybody complaining. But it still seemed like it was happening. And I'm like, what is it? Is it me? And actually, that caused a lot of anger in me because I was trying so hard, and I felt like it's still happening. And years and years and years, that stuff happens, and I'm like, what's up? This isn't right. And it's only like, past few years I'm realizing, you know what? A lot of it might not be me. We got something called unconscious bias, and everybody's got it, and they project it on other people. You mentioned it earlier, but a lot of like actions or whatever, they kind of project it onto other people, and so I'm over here going, I'm doing something wrong. And in actuality, I may not be doing anything wrong. It's their perception. And the thing is, most of the time, they have power over me in their position and stuff like that. So then it's like I must be the one that's wrong because they have power over me. They have clout. And so for years that's like some sort of anger. And it's only as some people start realizing, oh my gosh, all this time maybe it hasn't been me. And so I we respond to things and deal with things. But I also think that there's this bias that everybody has, and we need to be aware that they could be acting a certain way toward us, and we need to recognize that and realize, hey, that doesn't have to do with us. But we're also doing it to other people. So that's where we have to learn about it so that we don't project it onto other people, right? Which is also kind of something that you're mentioning. But I just thought I would bring that up as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely, we deal with people. I mean, there's a lot of bad people in the world, and we're going to deal with a lot of people that treat us unfairly and unjustly. And that's going to happen. But right now, but we want to make sure that, like Patrice mentioned, we're not projecting things onto other people that that based on things in us. But we definitely want to model our interaction with other people with knowledge as well. We aren't really going to cover that today, but we want to also be knowledgeable about ourselves. So we're looking at. So the next thing that can make you angry is your emotional state. Your emotional state. So you may feel overwhelmed, or you may be irritable, or you may be stressed out, or you may be feeling sensitive or vulnerable. And so then you'll be more prone to get angry when something happens. So it could be your emotional state. Just the state you're in may make you can be irritable. And so somebody could do something and make you angry that wouldn't normally have made you angry. And it might be your environment. Maybe there's some environments you go into, you feel stressful environments. You walk into this meeting and you're like, oh, here we go again. And so you've already got stress built up or perception built up about what's going to happen. And so you'll be more prone to get angry when something does happen because you're expecting it. Or, some politician gets up to speak and you're like, oh, here we go again. So you're more prone to get angry. You're more prone to get angry because that person, you're expecting that person to say something that's going to make you angry. And it could be relational. So with that, some people, certain situations that can make you feel more on edge. Certain coworkers, certain family members that you just know, you just when you're gonna have to talk to that person, you just start to get irritated just thinking about it. And so, but that can make you more prone to get angry. Like if you think this person is gonna make you angry, you're gonna get angry easier. This person, you think of this person as irritable, it's gonna make you get angry easier because you're expecting that they're gonna say something to make you angry. Let's see, any thoughts on those? Okay. All right. And then another thing that can make you angry is cognitive distortion. So cognitive distortions are if you have inaccurate thinking, belief, perception. So we have these expectations, these beliefs, but you may have an inaccurate belief. So we talked about some of them, but have you ever thought something was a certain way and then it turns out that wasn't the case at all? So some different types of cognitive distortions you can have. So the first one is personalization. You think everything is your fault. You're like, oh, everything is all my fault. Everything that happens, you think is you. You think is your fault. So kind of like Patrice mentioned, she was saying she thought everything was her fault. So personalization, that could be a cognitive distortion. You think everything is your fault. You think everything is your fault. But another type of personalization could be you think everything is about you. There's people over there laughing. Oh, what are they saying about me? This happens. You have a distortion thinking everything's about you. So you have a cognitive distortion thinking everything's about you. That could be a reason you're angry because you're thinking everything's about you when everything's not about you. Another cognitive distortion is minimizing the positive. Minimizing the positive. So you only look at the negative things. So there's positive and negative things going on, but you focus on the negative things. You focus on the negative things. You know, a lot of times, you know, I hear in churches talking about, you know, the decline in Christianity, how, you know, nowadays people aren't going to church as much, and the decline in Christianity, but then we minimize the fact that Christianity in the world is at an all-time high, and it's projected to be at an all-time high every year for the next year for at least the next 20 years. So Christianity is actually at its highest point ever, but yet we minimize that. We focus on, oh, Christianity in America is lower. Christianity in America is like, well, why are we focused on that? You know, Jesus said spread, you know, we focus on just the negative. We focus on the negative, minimizing the positive. That could be a reason why you get angry, because you're ignoring the positive things and you're only focused on the negative things. You know, so you want to ask yourself, well, what good could come out of this? What good could come out of this? Another cognitive distortion could be, with that, you're expecting negative outcome from situation to person to meeting. Another one is you have mental filters. You only see what you expect to see. So we talked about the reticular activating system and the fact that in life, every day, most of the world we're ignoring. So we looked at the example of when you buy a new car, say you buy a new Toyota, then all of a sudden you start noticing these Toyotas on the road. Or everywhere you go to Toyota, when you buy a new car, you're noticing all these cars. It's not that they're more, it's just that you weren't noticing them before. And actually our mind does that because we get too much information to process, so we filter out information that's not relevant to us. Or we also filter out information that contradicts our beliefs, though, is another problem, though. So you may be your mental filtering out stuff so you're expecting things to be a certain way, and you're filtering out information that's contrary to that. You're expecting this politician to only do bad stuff, so when they do something good, you filter that out. Or you're expecting these people to be prejudiced or racist. You're expecting sexism. You're expecting classism. You're expecting, you know, bad things, and so you're filtering out things that contradict that, and you're only so you're filtering out the positive things. So that could be a reason why you're angry. So you want to ask yourself, you know, are you seeing it? You know, how are you seeing this from everyone's perspective? Are you seeing this from the other person's perspective? You know, that's obviously not always the case. There are situations that happen, but make sure that it's not you. You know, we want to make sure that it's not us, that it's not us. Any thoughts so far? Okay. Another cognitive distortion is overgeneralization. You know, you have blanket statements about beliefs. The Democrats believe this, Republicans believe this. Black people always do this. White people always do this. Men think this. Women think that. Atheists do this. Gay people this. So we have overgeneralization. We group people together. It could be a reason that we're angry. We overgeneralize. You know, because some situations could be different. You know, we're not just looking. You know, we want to look at the facts. Make sure we're looking at the facts in the situation at hand. Another cognitive distortion is all or nothing thinking. All or nothing thinking. You probably have all or nothing thinking if you find yourself saying, you always this, and this. You always this and this. Or you never this, and this. You never this, and this. You know, it's all or nothing. We just, you know, we group everything. You know, this never happens. This always happens. You know, we're not looking at the minutiae of the details. It's all or nothing thinking. Another cognitive distortion is a control fallacy. So you may think that, we talked about how you think anything that happens is your fault. Oh, this person died is probably because of my sin. This person did this, it's probably my fault. My child did this, it's probably my fault. So you control fallacy, you think that everything is your fault. Or the opposite, you may think that everything is out of your control. More of a victim mentality. You think that, oh, this is going to happen. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And you think that it's out of your control. You think that you don't play when you could play a part in it. So that can lead you to be anger. That can lead you to be angry. If you think everything is out of your control and you don't take responsibility for things that you can take responsibility for, that can lead to anger. That can lead to nihilism, to hatred for the world. That can lead to shooting up schools and stuff. You think that everything is out of your control, and you don't take responsibility for the things you can take responsibility for. Another reason, which we won't leave out, is that there are mood disorders, chemical imbalances. In the news lately now, we hear a lot of talk about people that are bipolar. People that are bipolar, they get angry, they get rage for no reason. And then they may associate that anger with something going on. So they get anger because of chemical imbalance, so they'll associate it with something going on. Mm-hmm. So bipolar people are more likely to be argumentative, to be hot-tempered, to act with explosive outbursts. Although, it doesn't completely cause you to do that. So it's not, you can't 100% blame it on the bipolar, but it makes you more prone to do it. So all of these things make you more susceptible to be angry. Makes you more susceptible to anger. So there are people with chemical imbalances that make them more susceptible to being angry. And then there's finally being judgmental. If you're judgmental, you're always judging other people. When we're judgmental, we're looking at what was violated, our value, something that we value. We're looking at something that we value and someone else has violated that. So something that I value. So you get annoyed when I value not eating meat, so I'm annoyed that somebody eating meat. Or I value exercise, so I'm annoyed at people that don't exercise. I value good driving, so I'm annoyed when somebody doesn't drive. I value recycling. So it's like when we value something, we can get annoyed when somebody doesn't do it. And that can lead us to be prone to anger. We're judgmental. We're judging the other person for not doing something we value. And then we can also see that when in the church, someone is not doing something we value. And then also we see it in the sense that maybe it's something we overcame, or we used to do. I used to go out partying. So now I see somebody partying and I'm like, oh, I can't believe that Christian do that. I used to drink, but now I see somebody else drinking. I used to curse. Now I see somebody else cursing. I used to not serve in the church. And people that aren't serving, I can't stand those people that don't want to serve. I used to misinterpret scripture, or I used to believe in prosperity doctrine. So now I'm people that do it are just horrible people. Mm-hmm. So something that we used to do, a lot of times we'll be judgmental on people that are doing it because it's something we overcome. And sometimes it's actually because it's something that we wish we were still doing. You're judgmental about those people going out and partying because you kind of secretly wish you still could go out and party. So we're judgmental on that. So being judgmental can lead you to be angry. Be angry. Who has Luke 6:41?
I do. Luke 6:41. Why do you look at the speck in his eye? Do not see the plank in your own eye. That's
Yeah, why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye and not see the plank in your own eye? Yeah, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, what was the last thing you said? That it was that maybe you're being judgmental about someone else because it's something that you despise, like a habit that you broke that you despise now, or how did you mention it?
Yeah, I said maybe it's something that you used to do, so now you're judging other people who still do it, And then the last one was that, and it may be that you're jealous that you can't do it anymore. You're
or maybe afraid that you'll start doing it again. So maybe maybe the person has to declare it as something, evil or wrong or something to help convince themselves to continue not doing it or something. Maybe subconsciously, they're afraid that they'll start doing it again. I don't know.
That's true. That's definitely, but but do you need to think of this person as a horrible person in order to keep you from doing it? So we look at, okay, I'd be a horrible person if I did it, so that's a horrible person. So we don't necessarily need to associate that onto someone else. To judge them. So that, we want to hate the sin, but love the sinner. Yeah. Not that all of those are sins, but especially if it's not a sin. All right. So those are the things that can make us prone to anger. Let's see. All right. So let me I have some anger management techniques. These are mainly for people with there's a mix, but a lot of these will help people that have chronic anger, that people who have explosive anger, people who, these were mentioned for bipolar people that have explosive anger. The last ones are general for everybody. A lot of them can apply to everybody as well, though. Okay, who has Proverbs 29:11? Oh, that's Eric.
I got it.
Okay.
Yes. Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise being calm in the end.
Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise are calm in the end. So fools give full vent to their rage. So you see people doing things like punching a wall, yelling and screaming and cursing people, and they do things that may make the situation worse. So a lot of times you may do things that make the situation worse. So some people have chronic anger. Some people are always angry. So these situations that may make you angry, they're always angry. It's not like a situational anger where something happened, they get angry, and now it goes away. They're always angry. So if you're chronically angry, you want to ask yourself, am I depressed? Are you depressed? You want to ask yourself, do you have plans, goals, and strategies in life thought out? Because if not, then that could lead to people with chronic anger. Or ask yourself, do you have something to say or something that you need to do? Something that you need to address. Is there something in your life that you aren't addressing? That's for people with chronic anger. So another thing that can help you with your anger is to be aware of self-awareness. So that's what all of this is giving us self-awareness. But be aware of your inner dialogue. And as we mentioned, say that, if I was in a good mood, would this really have upset me? So you got angry at something. If I was in a good mood, would I have been angry at this? If I just found out I got my boss doubled my salary, my family member that I've been trying to convert to Christ all these years just accepted Christ. Just all these great things just happened. Would this have upset you then? So think about it. Is it something? Could it be something going on in you? So be aware of yourself. Be aware of yourself. Sometimes something will bother you because it's going on with yourself. Another thing you could do is just not feed the fire. Not feed the fire. If you know that I had a friend on Facebook. She hated Trump, and she would post 2, 3, 4, 5 things every day about Trump. Okay. And I'm like, well, what? I'm like, it's like, why are you so involved in him? You invested so much in him. So somebody you don't like, So so don't feed the fire. If it's something that's going to make you angry, then stop watching it. If something is making you angry, if debating about something that's going to make you angry, then don't go debate about it. So don't feed the fire. If you know something's going to make you angry, and if it's something that you need to address and it's important, then you got to do what you got to do. But if it's something that's not important to your life or to the relationship of that person, then don't feed the fire. If you know it's going to make you angry, then don't do it. You don't have to watch the news 20 times a day to keep it, if that's what's making you angry. So if something's making you angry, then you don't feed the fire. Next one is you can have some type of outlet. So anger, when people get angry, they get a lot of energy. So maybe some physical activity will help. Maybe sports, some type of something that engages your mind as well as your body. So team sports. So if you know you're always angry, then try to engage in some type of physical activity. You can identify the trigger. Identify what it is that's triggering you. So realize that, okay, is it certain personality types? People of this personality type seem to make me angry. When I hear this type of sound, it makes me angry. When I hear this place, it makes me angry. So track when you're getting angry, and then you can identify what it is that's actually triggering you. Trace your steps back. Maybe somebody said something at work, and then you were a little angry, but then you got on the freeway and something else happened, and then you came here, and then by the time you went and met up with that person, you were just irritated, but it wasn't because of that person. It was because of what happened at work, really, and it just piled on and piled on. So identify the source of your anger. There are you want to take it to God in prayer. Take it to God in prayer, your anger. Give it to God, pray about it. If you feel that you're angry unnecessarily, take it to God. If you're not slow to anger, ask God to help you. Ask God to give you wisdom. Read the scriptures. We have a bunch of memory verses in the previous lesson about anger to read that you can use. There's treatment. So some people have found that getting off of your substances, if people are using drugs or alcohol or getting off of caffeine or getting off of energy drinks, are just as effective as medication for some people. Getting off of substances is just as effective as medication. And if it's really bad case of anger, there's therapy as well, cognitive behavioral therapy, anger management classes. Another option is journaling. We talked about keeping track of when you got angry, how long you were angry, what triggered it, keeping a journal of that. You can get observation and feedback from other people. So if it's people you trust, you can ask them, let you know when you get angry. Ask them to let you know when you get angry. But don't get angry at them for letting you know you got angry. But ask people to let you know when you get angry. And you may say, hey, I'm not in a place right now where that information is going to help me, but thank you. I appreciate you telling me, because you're angry. You may not want to hear her, but confess your anger. Don't try to hide it. So this is for everybody. Don't try to, say I'm not really angry. I'm not angry at that. I'm not angry because that person got this and I didn't get it. So confess your anger, and you can take a time out. Take a time out if you're in the middle of a situation. And then lastly, you can forgive. Learn to forgive. And that's one of the things that's easier said than done. Learn to forgive. And we will have a future lesson on reconciliation. But learning to forgive. And so I will play this video of Kevin Hart talking about anger.
I don't have time to be angry. You know how much time it takes to hold an attitude and a grudge? That's time and energy. I don't have that time. The time that it takes you to go, I don't like that person, and keep that in you over a period of time, that's a lot of time that can be devoted to something positive. I don't have time to be angry. You know how much time it takes to...
Think about that. All right, so that's the lesson. Let's walk in the way. Let's seek the truth and live the life.
I agree with Kevin Hart. For me, though, it's so exhausting. I'm exhausted after being angry. Like, I'm emotionally spent. it's like I have to recalibrate. So for me, it's like to get angry. Yeah, that's just way too much of wasted energy I used to get at, you know? So it's just, it just takes a lot. So I don't know if I'm the only one. But I try to limit that because, like I said, I'm spent. I need a moment, like, to recalibrate and get back to my happy place. But I just don't, I don't like to be angry, honestly. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody does, but I'm just saying it in my case.
Well, some people seem to, but yeah, that actually brings to mind another thing that you can do is if there's certain things that make you angry, you think about, you can use what we talked about in anxiety is write it down. If you're thinking about it, write it down, have like a set time, like, you know, from 6 to 6:30, I'm going to think about this stuff. Actually, we're going to talk about this later. So we're going to have a lesson on intrusive thoughts, ruminating thoughts. I believe we're going to have a lesson about that. So we'll get more into that. But yeah. But anger. Yeah, because you don't have to like it to be angry. You know, you can find yourself 20 minutes in just thinking about it's just remembering a situation, how you were wronged, how this injustice was done to you. And a lot of times we want to talk about it. So you may want to try not talking about it so much. Some people, because if you talk about it, some people get just as angry as when it happened. You know, they're telling you about something that happened 2 years ago, and they're telling you angrily about it.
Father, we just thank you so much for this evening. Lord, we're going to lift up Michael as he prepares even furthermore for different lessons. Some of the balances that he needs to be able to juggle may be not only from his personal life, but his work life. And sometimes from his social life and people that he bumps into. So, Father, we pray that you help him juggle these things without burning himself out in one end versus the other, in one spectrum versus the other, as well as the different skills and talents that you give him, allow him to have. Father, we pray that you give him the understanding that when he prepares for any type of lessons, he's able to balance that between spirituality versus man's desire, that he may know your words with accuracy, that when he prepares your lessons, Lord, that it is sealed behind the cross, that we can see God. Father, we pray that in some of the different situations that pops in our lives, and whether we work with a school situation, a business, whatever color work that we do, we're dealing with people. And people in their own nature are broken. And they themselves have many issues, just like we do. And to deal with some that don't know God, that makes it real difficult. And so it may bring up a lot of our insecurities, maybe some of our idols, faults, as well as our family upbringing that may be excellent on the outside that people can see. But the reality is that, Lord, as we get older, we look back. It may not be as great as we thought it would be. So, Father, you've given us a lot of helpful hints to evaluate. And that is not to lift us up, that we can look down on people, but rather we can actually use that to just kind of grab onto each other in that security to assist. Father, we also pray that during this time period that you're able to take care of situations that people that have injured us, whether purposefully from their issues that they have in life, or whether inadvertently they've injured us. And we in turn end up hurting other people. Mm-hmm. So So, Father, we pray that you help us to make amends to those that we have damaged, the people that we have caused so much issues with, that there may be a lot of barriers in between us. And so, Father, for those that hurt us, Lord, we ask that you may give us a forgiving heart, not just verbally, but a sincere forgiving heart, that we can learn how to forgive others just the way Jesus forgave us. And it's so hard for us to see that. So, Father, we pray for that sense of peace. We pray for that sense of understanding, that on a day-to-day basis, Lord, that you prepare us for different situations that may trigger our angers, may damage some of our emotions. It may even bring it out, but hopefully bring it out in such a way that you can cure it instead of stuffing it. So, Father, we ask that your wisdom, your Holy Spirit be upon us as we sleep. And if we have people that pops into our mind, into our hearts, never let us to be that type of procrastinator that do not pray for them. But let us pray for them because it's something that's urgent that you place it into our soul. And just like each and every one of us, out of nowhere sometimes other people think about us. And that's how we got where we are. Got where we are in the situation of being in your presence. So, Father, we ask that you give us a good night's rest. Be with Michael as he prepares this weekend, with the balancing that he has to do. But more importantly, give him spirituality. That in the midst of his preparation, he does not see only a psychological remedy, but actually God in the center of everything else. Because the ministry that was created is created through you. And so your vision, your heart is in him. So, Father, let that be true always. Let it be a reflection and an aroma for us to see and for others to understand. Be with us this evening, Lord, as we rest. Give us a sense of peace so that tomorrow when we wake up, we can have the energy that our body and our mind will thank you, so that we can start the day afresh. And if we get a chance to bump into people that may trigger us in all areas, give us the wisdom way in advance before we walk out the door, that we can know how to deal with this. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.